The hollow on the desk glowed a nasty blood orange. Termination. Commander Kale's jaw plates tapped together in a cadence his people probably called comforting. To Elias it sounded like someone playing a xylophone with bones. 2 sensory filaments above his brow moved independently. One tracking Elias's face, the other flicking toward the white administrative unit standing like a museum sculpture in the corner. "We're moving the station into a new operational phase," Kale said. The translator flattened his tics into something like an upper-class accent running through a shredder. "We've identified a candidate who can streamline cargo logistics at roughly 40% of your current payroll. It's about algorithmic efficiency." "My name is Elias Mercer," Elias said. "I'm 51. I've been managing Novaya's cargo flows for 11 years. I know the difference between theory and bodies out in the cold." He kept the anger out of his voice. There would be plenty of time for that later, when midnight stretched and the berth lights made the ceiling look like a ceiling should not look. Kale's dark ocular coronas, glossy as polished jet, registered the announcement with the same warmth you'd expect from a meter that takes coins but refuses change. The fleshy tendrils along his lower mandible, an anatomical decision no human neck would envy, made a small, nervous shudder. In Sarai, expression that could mean discomfort or bowel distress. Elias prayed for the latter. Elias held the small box like it contained more than cheap office detritus, a chipped mug-stamped Novaya cargo from the maintenance team, a looping hollow of Mara and Juno at Juno's station graduation, and the scuffed leather coat he'd thrown over his chair on the rare days the thermal regulation system went on strike. 11 years collapsed into a few personal artifacts. Not a fortune, not a statue, just proof that he had shown up. "Your access codes will be transferred to your replacement by 1700, Kale said, mandibles clacking. "Iris, for will escort you to personnel processing." The white administrative unit inclined her head. Her serial read Iris, 4, but everyone called her Iris because no one wanted to say the serial number out loud and sound like a vending machine command. "Who's taking my slot?" Elias asked. "A promising graduate from the Sarai Institute of Logistics. Exceptional marks, excellent simulation performance." Kale's filaments twitched, the Sarai equivalent of an eye roll. "The systems are largely self-regulating now." "You mean ceremonial," Elias corrected, the word hitting the panel like a stone. When a job that keeps vaccines cold and babies breathing gets called ceremonial, it strips more than a title. Kale kept talking, the same rehearsed speech about progress, inevitable change, and synergistic optimization. Elias wanted to tell him how the docking harmonics and cross-vessel timing were learned by getting things wrong and then fixing them. He wanted to shake the alien until the filaments rattled. Instead he nodded. "There are arguments that are just performances." This was one of them. Iris glided beside him through Novaya's corridors. The station's architecture felt medical. Bright white surfaces, gentle blue lights, rounded signage that promised helpfulness and delivered antiseptic calm. He knew this place so thoroughly he could have navigated it blind. Today it felt like a gallery he was being shown out of. "Your departure wasn't unanimous," Iris said in that engineered human cadence meant to soothe. Several department heads raised concerns about the speed of the transition. "Let me guess," Elias said. Kale overruled them. "Commander Kale has final authority over personnel within his administrative jurisdiction," Iris recited. They reached personnel. The office had one clerk, a shell-backed Toral named Bran. The Toral species wore lineage across their carapaces the way humans wear tattoos. To Elias, Bran looked like someone had bedazzled an accountant. "Elias," Bran said, eyes widening at the box. "Oh, this is..." "Kale's rolling a crew change." "You've been here since before Kale's team arrived," Elias said. Bran's plates clicked a worried rhythm. "Your efficiency scores are textbook. 0 major incidents in years. Supplier satisfaction." He stopped. "That's the issue. When things are too smooth, it looks like any apprentice could run it." Iris spoke with cold precision. "Standard termination protocols will apply. We will revoke credentials and prepare final compensation." Bran tapped the terminal like someone performing resignation as a job. "Departure shuttle to the inner colonies leaves at 2000. I can reserve a cabin." Elias nodded and later, In the small room he and Mara had shared for more than a decade, he folded shirts with fingers that remembered when each procedure had first required a new tweak. Mara watched quietly, calculation behind her face. She'd run the hydroponics for 8 years and made the station eat better than freeze-dried survival rations. If someone was going to be next on Cale's spreadsheet, it would have been her. He said I was too expensive, Elias told her. Might be cheaper to fire everyone and run the whole thing on noise, Mara said, softer than a reprimand. Her hair had threaded silver now, early winter in her scalp. What about the Keller contract? The medical run to the outer colonies? 7 years of handling that, Elias said. Temperature sequencing, special cradling for biologics. If the wrong bay takes them, they degrade. I know. He looked at the hollow of Juno on the shelf. Not my problem now. At 1847 his communicator chimed. The caller ID read Commodore Helena WYTT, Fleet Logistics. Elias and Helena went back nearly 15 years, when she was junior and he was a crew chief who'd saved a convoy by catching corrupted manifests. She had single-handedly nudged a career path sideways into hers, and whoever she had become ate efficiency reports for breakfast. He answered. Her face filled the contact window. Tight, efficient, the steel-gray hair cropped short. You're being terminated, she said without preamble. Yes, Elias said. 2 hours and I'm on a shuttle. Don't board it, she said. Stay put. I'll call. She disconnected before he could find a reply. The next 2 hours were suspended in low light. Mara ordered dinner from a synth terminal and the pasta looked like a schematic of joy. Correct shape, missing heat. They sat, half-packed, and stared at each other as if making a plan by osmosis could substitute for news. At 2000 his comm pulsed again. Cale's face filled the frame, and this time the filament position screamed stress. Elias Mercer, his translator, clipped. There may have been a procedural oversight in your termination. Fleet Command has flagged a personnel change affecting sector-authorized posts. He swallowed, or whatever passes for swallowing with those mandibles. Return to your duties immediately. Your termination is suspended pending review. Suspended. The word opened space like an unlatched door. Cale rattled through a new script. Perhaps they had underestimated the complexity. Perhaps they could bargain. Elias listened to the stuttered contrition and the sudden backpedal. It turned out the replacement, trainee Lisa from the Sarai Institute, had been assigned a high-risk transfer. Temperature-sensitive pharmaceuticals had been routed to an ambient bay. The automatic systems had not considered the chemical reactivity of the ferroxide or from Harrowell, which would fume if stored near standard coolant residues. In other words, things that exist only in the fine print were already melting down. Elias sat hard on the bunk. He'd written many of those manuals. He'd labored through protocols that read like labyrinths because one wrong adjacency could kill people. Commodore WYTT's voice, through the comm, was less diplomatic than Cale's. You're not just a coordinator, Elias. You're the coordinator for one of the busiest hubs in the sector. Fleet Command will be protective of that. Don't go anywhere. The next 6 days were a slow, stubborn argument. Elias stayed on Novaya but refused to meaningfully work. His credentials had been restored, but he would not be a background actor while Cale replayed the arrogant experiment. The station, however, did not collapse all at once. It stuttered. On day 2 crates of ferroxide were quarantined on external pods while engineers argued with mining reps. Day 3 an automated shuttle misrouted 2 drones and scattered seeds for a farming colony along 200 meters of maintenance tunnel. Day 4 a cultural delegation's humidity-sensitive artifacts were misassigned to a bay adjacent to a venting outflow and bloomed mold like an ugly diplomatic bloom. Anywhere the details mattered, failures accrued. The messages came in increasing numbers. Department heads, suppliers, shipping lines. People who had never bothered to say Elias's name in a meeting began to ask when he would return. Cale called until he left terse messages. Elias let them pile up. On the morning of the 6th day, the comm showed an unexpected face. Trainee Lisa. She looked younger than the Institute picture suggested. Her filaments small and uncertain. Mr. Mercer, her translator said. I resigned. I wasn't prepared. Simulations don't teach the way cargo smells when it's wrong. I managed to see some of your manuals before they closed my accounts. They were remarkable. How long did you put into them? 11 years, Elias said. She looked at him like someone seeing the architecture of a building for the first time. I don't want to make the same mistakes. If you come back, it would be for the station, not for the commander. That was all she needed to say. Elias sat for a long time after she disconnected. Mara found him in the same posture an hour later. What will you do? She asked. I'm going to ask for protections, he said. I built something useful. If they want to tinker with it, they'll need permission from above. And I want a raise that keeps them from trying this stunt again. The sector council meeting was a bright bureaucratic thing held in Cale's office, the same office where Elias had been handed his box. The hollow that had read termination now spread incident reports in a long list. Cale's filaments were pressed flat. His posture said he'd been put in front of a dam. Elias outlined 3 conditions. 20% increase in base pay, locked for 5 years. Any future personnel changes for cargo coordination must be approved at sector logistics level. And you will publicly apologize to the department heads, to trainee Lisa, and to Dr. Keller, formally and on the station channels. Cale's filaments trembled. The apology, Cale said, would be humiliating. Elias stared at him. It should be humiliating, he said. You tried to treat 11 years of experience like a checkbox. For a long beat, Cale did nothing. Then he made a noise that might have been laughter through the translator. A string of whistles rendered as brittle amusement. When I arrived, I was told humans were easy to manage, he said. Apparently that counsel was provided by someone asleep at their console. Then, to everyone's surprise, Cale tapped his console, and official channels began to move. He accepted Elias's conditions. Elias left with the raise and the council oversight he'd demanded. Mara was waiting. She hugged him like someone who had been holding their breath for days and finally exhaled. The very fact of official recognition made more light in their small room than any synthetic lamp could. Over the following months, Novaya steadied. Trainee Lisa enrolled in an apprenticeship and returned to a smaller hub to learn under veteran coordinators. The Har-Raoul Consortium's dispute was settled after proper quarantines and new handling protocols. The public apology went out, and to Elias's quiet satisfaction, it was sincere enough that it carried a hint of apology in Cale's mandible clicks. Commodore WYTT visited months later. Over dinner in a high-end bistro on the commercial level, she said, "You look well." She meant it. Elias thought about why things had changed. Not because someone else finally recognized his value. Not just because Fleet Command had stepped in, or because Cale had to admit an error. The real change was that he stopped letting other people define him. He documented processes, insisted on oversight, made visible the invisible work that had kept hundreds of thousands fed and medicated. He refused to be somebody's expendable line item. Teach them, WYTT said. We have a program. The fleet needs coordinators who have actually done the work. Elias smiled. I'll think about it. On the shuttle back to his quarters that night, he walked past the same white corridor where he'd once carried a cardboard box of memories. The signage, the lighting, the same helpful holograms. Everything looked like the same set. He wasn't the same actor on it. Elias Mercer, 51, 11 years keeping Novaya from chaos, was starting his 12th year with a raise, sector protections, and a new certainty. He had been forced to consider walking away and learned a useful thing. Sometimes you have to risk the cardboard box to prove that what you built matters. The station turned on through the void, a choreography of ships and rails and barges. The infrastructure was invisible when it worked and loud when it failed. Elias kept the engines of that quiet world humming, not because a program ran itself, but because someone had cared enough to learn the dangerous little details that the software's mock-ups never captured. And that, the careful insistence that things be done right and the willingness to make others acknowledge it, was the difference that changed everything.